are go for liftoff in T minus 30.
Hit the record button.
That's swell.
Italo Blog Talk Radio.
So welcome to another episode of Italo's Blog Talk Radio. This is Italo speaking. I have another guest. I'm in between a series, by the way, whoever's listening, about the Dark Triad. And I've had Joshua Wills has been coming in to talk about the Dark Triad and what does it mean. And so this is like in between that, I'm doing an interview with Marcell, who is hi. Now I can see you still. Can you say hi?
Hi, how you all doing? Can you hear me?
There you go. Yeah.
All right.
Whenever you speak is when, anyway, you know what I'm saying. So welcome back, Marcell. How's it going? How's it been?
It's a pleasure to be back. Everything it's flowing. You know, it's my word I like to use. It's flowing. Just I'm trying to observe everything as the noticer and not the active participant. Just noticing things as it flows along, and learning from ups and downs as it flows. So it's flowing. How is everything going with you?
It's flowing. It's flowing too.
Love that.
It's always a struggle, right? It's always something that happens along the way. And we kind of have been talking off the air about something that's been happening. So where do we start? We're going to start... I don't know. Where should we start? Because we're talking about labels and we're talking about boundaries.
Let's get right into boundaries. You know, I think it's important to honor boundaries. And this is in all areas of life, whether you're in a work environment, you're in a friendship with your peers, you're in a relationship with your partner, and even with your family, most importantly with your family, because there seems to be times with family members that they feel like they can just overstep because they're family. But no, hard boundaries are important, and setting boundaries, you shouldn't feel bad for them. Your boundaries are your boundaries, and no one outside of you should have the power to determine what a boundary is for you. I believe, you're entitled to your boundaries. You have your boundaries for a reason. And it's when you honor your boundaries, you find yourself in a better place vibrationally. And you tend to attract that which you deserve in your life, whether it be a promotion or it be a healthy relationship, or even respect from your peers and family. When you honor your boundaries, you're saying, hey, I will not accept this.
Right. When do you realize you have to set boundaries? Because I only learned about boundaries recently, about 4 years ago, 5. And I never knew because nobody taught me, or my parents didn't taught me. Maybe they didn't know. Maybe they didn't want me to know. So when did you realize you had to set boundaries? And how
I want to say, I never grew up learning boundaries and having boundaries either. And as I got older, I started realizing that, even as an adult now, I start to think about how, my mom didn't have it figured. My mom was a single mom, but she was still becoming her own as an adult, and she was still trying to figure it out. And so as I get older, I look back and I'm like, I never learned certain things, but she was still learning certain things on her journey. And so maybe I wasn't meant to learn the boundaries from her, and that's okay. But for me, I learned about boundaries in the work field because for so long I worked and I gave my all and I was a yes man. And all I wanted to do was please my boss and do whatever they wanted. I would work on holidays. I wouldn't use my time off. And I'd come home and I'd feel drained. And I'd be like, something's got to give. But you know what? I got to hold myself accountable because I didn't set healthy workplace boundaries in the beginning. So why am I complaining about something having to give when I'm the one that hasn't set boundaries? So now it starts to, so I have to put it on me first. And it starts with holding yourself accountable. And then as you hold yourself accountable and you say, look, okay, I can do this better now that I know, and I will set this boundary and I will voice my opinion.
Right.
Sorry, my nose is itchy, but the allergy's going.
Okay. I guess it comes with knowing yourself a little bit more, right? Like I didn't know I was saying yes when I meant to say no.
Right.
And how it would make me feel upset, it would make me feel frustrated that I couldn't just say it. I couldn't just, because I wanted to appear nice. I wanted to appear, as a person who's willing to help and everything. But sometimes it came at a price.
Yeah, it does, and it will, because you want to please people, and that's a natural thing. You don't want them to think otherwise of you. And what happens is, because you want to please others and you don't want them to think any way other than you, they start to take advantage of it, because they're like, okay, this person's just going to say yes. How dare you say no once you start saying no? Or what's wrong? And then they make you feel guilty. And then that's how you start to weed out who is right in your life and who isn't, and who has good intentions for you and who doesn't. And then, you start to understand, you have better understanding for yourself, and even in relationships, it's important to set boundaries. And it's also important to discuss boundaries in relationships too. I feel so many people, when they connect with others, they start talking about what they want in a partner, or what they deserve, right? I want this in a partner and I deserve this. And these are my love languages. And what they don't realize is that person can easily mirror what you're saying. And then they're going to show up with everything that you've said and handing it to you on a silver platter. And then when it's time to show you who they truly are, or when it's time for you to set your boundaries, they're going to be nowhere to be found, or that's going to be a complete stranger to you.
Right.
So if you set your boundaries first and you show people what you're not willing to accept, you'll start to see who stays and who goes. And this is in any area of life.
Right. And it's hard. It's hard when it comes to relatives, because like I had one of my relatives tell me, like, I was really hurt when you cut us off. I cut my mother off for a while, and she was hurt that I kind of stopped communicating with her too, my aunt. And in a way, I didn't want to say anything at the time, but I'm like, I'm still not ready to, I'm still debating. It's still like I still have to be really careful, because forgiving or allowing them to come back to your life, like I did, is tricky now. It's very tricky. Like, what are you really saying? And what am I really getting into again? And this sounds familiar.
Right.
The whole dynamic starts again. And, at this point in my life, I don't want to start going through trauma one more time. And it's a daily process. Sometimes I do go back. I had an interaction with my mom recently, and she asked she said, I'm sorry, whatever, but under the same breath, she was already doing damage, lying again and excusing herself. And I'm like, is that real? Or this is another tactic of yours?
Right. What if it's real to her, and that's all she knows? Because as it's never figured out. We're always learning, and at the same, parents have their trauma too, and they can only respond at the level of their healing. And so you may be at a level of your healing where you understand and you're aware and you know what you deserve and you know what you're willing to accept when it comes to an apology and to moving on and forgiving. And she may not be at that level, but that's because maybe she's still going through the cycles of trauma that possibly no one knows. I know it's like we tend, I know for me anyways, I can only speak for me when I say this. I used to hold my mom accountable for a lot of things, being a single mom, but also, as my upbringing, I would just hold her accountable and I would expect her to change because I would think that because she's the mom, she's the adult, she's lived longer than me, she should have it figured out. And then I started realizing my reaction to it. Okay, she's still growing. I'm still growing, and as you're an adult, it's like you got an adult raising an adult, you got an adult trying to figure it out, raising an adult that's trying to figure it out. And it's like, I realized, wait a minute, she's only responding at the level of her healing, and I can't hold her accountable for that because that's her life. Even though she's my mom, she still has her life that she has to flow with and understand and grow, cope with, and heal. As same with my father as well. So it's like, I think it's different, but and that just shows the level of healing that you're at. And then it's time to look within and understand, okay, she's not capable of meeting me at that point. Although she isn't, I'm still going to wish her the best. I'm still going to send love to her. And I'm still going to pray that she does reach that point, because holding someone accountable for our expectations, we lose sight of our own healing, because no one's responsible for our to meet our expectations.
Okay.
It's deep, but it just shows the level of healing that you're at. And that's important. That's powerful. And that's
well,
I commend it.
I was never able to speak up. You know what I mean? Like I was never able to. I didn't want her. I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I didn't want to hurt her feelings by speaking up and saying what I really, really feel. So that it came to a point where I'm like, it's really eating me inside. So if this is gonna eat me inside, and I'm gonna be, what I'm saying, like being in her presence alone was already irritating me. I just had to do it, and it was very liberating. It was difficult, but once I started doing it, it was like it flew right out. Because I was always ruminating. I was always thinking, how do I approach this in a manner that is not going to offend her, in a way that, and I'm like, just, oh my God, it will drive me crazy, because there's no way to do it in a way that is, I don't know how people are going to take it. It's not really my job.
Right.
So I don't know about your mom, but my mom, yeah, it's, I don't think she understands the concept of healing. And I was trying to explain it to her, and I was trying to, say that about depression. She's been depressed for years, and so, but it's hard. It's hard when somebody's not aware of their own mental health, I guess, or they don't, it's not a priority, I guess, for them.
It's not, because then it's like you're trying to show them that it can be better. You're trying to show them. It's like you're helping them, and they see it as you're not helping. Like you're against them, but really you're helping. You're, in all reality, you're helping. That's powerful, man. I admire, though, that you're able to recognize it. A lot of people don't even recognize it. They hold it, they compartmentalize it, and they move forward as if, nothing happened. So for you to recognize it and understand that, and to move forward with it, that says a lot about where you're at,
Right.
So
yeah, and it's not that I don't love I don't love her or anything, but it's very insidious. It's a way of I don't know. It's a lot.
Yeah.
That's my story. That's my story, and I know it's. I always think that people are going to be in the same boat as I am sometimes, which is assuming things. But yeah, I'm glad that your relationship with your mom is healthy, or at least you try to make it as healthy.
You try to be, my mom is in the same place though with the healing thing. She doesn't understand it. So I don't push. I used to push it on, but then I'm just like, what, she'll get it when she gets it. That's with anything, So it's like, I stopped trying to get her to understand where I'm coming from, because then it's like it takes away from my best living, because we still got to live our best life too. It's like we got to be who we are. And, when something's taking your power away, it's like, okay, it becomes draining. So now it's time to hit the restart button in a sense and go inward, instead of prioritizing charging the cell phone, prioritizing charging the soul, and recognizing, just like you recognize your apps on this phone, you know exactly where your apps are. You can text without even looking at it because you know where the buttons are. Just like your phone inside out. Take that time to know who you are inside and out. Recognize what triggers you. Recognize what brings you happiness and what brings you joy, and what what you feel when this happens or certain things happen. And then you start to analyze, like, okay, this is me, and this is what I will allow, and this is what I won't allow. And if it doesn't serve my purpose, it's not worth my time. If it serves my purpose, it's worth my time.
Right. And you were saying that there's people that always say that. I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear you perfectly. Yeah. I'm deaf in my right ear, so when you see me go like this, it's like because I'm just trying to.
That's okay. I'm
completely deaf in my right ear.
Oh, okay. No, but you were saying before we started recording that there's people that might call you a narcissist or having high standards when you demand the best for yourself, right? And actually, I was listening to Dr. Romani today about high standards, how people might say, oh, you have such a high standard and you have such a, I'm saying, like, you're too hard, or what do you think you are? You think you're so above everybody. And so what do you think about that? When people might say, Marcell, come on.
Right. Yeah. Well, so what I think about that is, so when people say that, I start to process, I start to think of the time when I was a child and I would be home at night waiting for my mom to get home. And I would think about that childhood trauma there. And I would think about how, when I was 16 and I was in a relationship with a girl whose father didn't like me because I'm half black. And so they forced her to get an abortion and put a restraining order on me. And I think about the times when, I dropped out of high school and I got into a healthy relationship with a woman that was amazing, and then it turned unhealthy because I started projecting my childhood trauma. I think about the moments that led me to go to Australia for a woman that I had never met. I think about, jobs that either laid me off or jobs that didn't appreciate me. I go and I just think about these things, and then I remind myself of how far I've come. And I say to myself, yeah, I have the standards because I've done the work and I know what I'm worth, and I know what I'm willing to allow and what I'm not willing to allow. And your perception of me is not my responsibility. Yes, I may have my standard, but who are you to tell me otherwise? Why not? If they don't know my story, you see, that's a problem I want to go into this too, is that's the problem with our society. There's a lack of understanding and there's a lack of seeking to understanding, I should say, and understanding. I guess it's all one and the same. And that goes across the board. You got relationship problems because one person doesn't want to seek the other understanding from another. You got job problems because you don't understand why an employee does this, and this. Well, the employer doesn't want to seek the understanding. So, let's say I have my high standards. Well, then for them to say that, I take into account, are they taking the time to understand me? Are they taking the time to understand why I'm at where I'm at, or why I have the standards that I've had? Because for so long, I've been let down, and I've allowed the letdowns to define me. Instead, I should have been allowing the letdowns to refine me. It's what the caterpillar thought was the end of the world was only the birth of a butterfly, not what the butterfly thought was the end of the world was only the birth of a caterpillar.
Yeah.
So it really, you start to look back to see how far you've come. And, I have my standards. I have what I'm willing to allow and what I'm not willing to allow. And I shouldn't feel guilty for honoring it. I shouldn't feel bad that because you're used to someone not not having high standards, and you're used to someone accepting you, or you're used to someone saying yes all the time to what you want. I shouldn't feel bad for saying no, or that, what, I'm not willing to allow this. I've been through this before. I see the signs and no,
Right. Yeah. About learning yourself, learning what you will.
Yeah, it is.
You won't take anymore. Because I've made quite a few decisions in my life. I set my standards pretty low. And so I attracted people that were not in my best interest.
Let me tell you, I'm sorry to interrupt you here, but let me say this, and I love this saying. Instead of chasing the butterfly, cultivate a habitat that attracts the butterfly. So when it comes to standards, you want to attract people with high standards. Cultivate that within yourself, and you will attract the very thing that you work on and put out.
Right. Yeah. That's a lot going on there.
Yeah. I've done some work. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still, you know what I mean? But let me tell you, it's good. It's good when you honor the red flags and you honor things that you've not used to honor.
Right. Yeah. And the education, like Joshua was saying in the podcast that I'm doing with Joshua, he's saying educate yourself, cultivate your own knowledge. If you see something you don't like, or you don't see a narcissistic behavior, analyze it, because I didn't know so many terms. I'm really learning. I'm still learning. So. And it's great. I love learning new stuff and applying it to my life. And how does that apply to me? Because I was telling him, we can have all the books that you want. I have so many books here, so many self books, right?
Uh-huh.
But you just have them in the library, and you don't ever, look within and look. Read them with you in mind. Read them with you in the. How does that apply to you, basically?
Right.
That's where I'm at.
At least you know where you're at, though. At least you know that's the, a lot of people don't know where they're at. They're wandering around, still trying to gather some sort of idea of themselves, or they're trying to live up to someone else's idea of them.
Right.
This society where we're fixated on judging other people and creating an idea of them and creating scenarios for them that we think that they're living by.
Right.
you know?
And you were talking about fantasizing or creating an image or a portrait in your head of what this person that you're meeting or this new person that you are talking or trying to have a relationship with, and you idolize them or you put them in a category that you don't even know them yet, but you already put them in.
Right. That seems to be a thing, it's like, all right, for instance, right. I'll go, remember that Australian girl I told you about?
Yeah.
I'll go back to that experience. And, her and I, we both created this idea of each other. We both fantasized and over the infatuation that we had for each other. But, and I thought about this in a reflection that as you create this idea, like as I created this idea of her, that idea that I created in my head of her is still a stranger to her. She doesn't know that version of her. Only I know that version of her. And it doesn't even exist in reality. So then who am I, to expect her to live up to the idea that I create of her? And she doesn't even know who that version is. My idea of her she might like bananas, apples, and oranges. Her real in her reality, she might be allergic to bananas, apples, and oranges, and she only likes pears and pineapples. But I've fixated on that. So then now when I surprise her with bananas, apples, and oranges, or let's say roses, she'll say, I don't even like this. And then I'll get mad because I'm like, but I thought you did. Well, I never said I liked that. Where'd you get that from?
Yeah.
And it's
or when I was fixing my ex, I was fixing him some eggs, and he's like, I don't like eggs, right? And I just got so mad. I'm like, you don't like eggs? Who doesn't like eggs? And he was like, I don't. And we've been dating each other for I don't know, a couple of years at that point. And he's like, you still don't know? You still don't know me, do you? You still don't know I don't like that stuff. I don't like certain things. And I guess I wasn't paying attention. I was too focused on myself to look look at the signs and yeah, interesting.
It is, it's like, I had an ex-girlfriend once tell me, because she had a bad day at work and all she wanted to do was be alone. And I always would take her alone time as she didn't want to be with me or that like I was disrupting her space. And I took it personal. And so one day she came home from work and she was like, I just want to be left alone. Please just give me my space. I'll come to you and I'm ready. And I viewed it as relationship issues. Why don't you just talk about it? And I forced it out of her. Well, one day I forced it out of her and she screamed at me. And she said to me, and I'll never forget this. She goes, how can you say you love me, but you don't even understand me? And I'm like, wow. And she's like, yeah, you tell me you love me all the time, yet you don't understand me. And I had created an idea of her in my head, and I loved the idea of her. I didn't love who she really was because I didn't even understand her enough to recognize that she just had a long day at work. She needs time to herself. I shouldn't make it about me. Mm-hmm. Instead, I'm making this all about me. And now she's coming home from a long day at work and now she's having a bad day at home.
Right.
And I start to think about that stuff and I'm like, no, she's right. She's completely right. And the same thing with the Australia girl, she created an idea of me. But, and that seems to be a thing with my content. A lot of people create an idea of me based off of the positivity I give out. And they think that I'm this positive person that has no errors, that thinks that the world is filled with butterflies, roses, clear skies, and happiness. But what they don't know is that I struggle every day mentally, and I choose to post positivity to hold myself accountable and to inspire and encourage myself. They don't know the struggle. And so they have this idea in their head. So then when I show them my boundaries, they're like, but I thought you were this understanding person. No, you thought that because you had this idea of me, but I'm a human just like you. And instead of choosing to post a video of me crying in the shower or looking at the screen while somebody tells me what I relate to, I just choose to post positive energy and put it out there because not only do I want to give it for myself, but I want to give it to others. But I always will fall short to those that have an idea of me and that have an expectation of me because they'll want me to live up to it. And there's a powerful saying by Kyle Cease that I love, and it's, people don't break your heart. They break your expectations, and that gets you closer to your heart. And that goes for anything. When people break your expectations, that means it's time to look inward to understand, wait a minute, why am I expecting this from somebody?
Right. Like I said, I've been seeing so many rom-coms and so many fantasy, fairy tales, I guess. There's a movie, well, you haven't seen, you don't like movies, but I know that. There's a movie called 500 Days of Summer.
Oh, okay.
It's an interesting movie about relationships. And he talks about his perception of her on one side, but her perception of him, they are totally opposite. And it comes to a point, I'm not going to ruin the movie for you guys if you haven't seen, but it comes to a point where he doesn't understand that the relationship wasn't working to begin with. He didn't see the signs. He didn't see the red flags. He didn't see her walking away, or he was trying to hold her hand and she was like letting go of the hand. He didn't see the things that should have been a red flag, like, hey, she's walking away. She's not paying attention to you. She's, she didn't this way or that, you force her to be in a relationship. And at the end, I'm not going to say the end, but you gotta see it because it's interesting to see how I view relationships sometimes one way when it was the other way. And you end up being, buffoon at the end. It's like, oh, I thought it was going great.
Right. Yeah. And it's like going the opposite way, total opposite way. But it's because we create all these things and we have these attachments. And usually a lot of the times we go into relationships still with unhealed childhood trauma. And we go into these relationships thinking that this is going to be what fixes us. And we expect it. And, and we want everything. We want this rapid, instant gratification.
Oh, yeah.
And then we want to compare ourselves.
We live in social media, so we already have that instant gratification going on.
Right. You do. It is. And it's really rewired our minds, and people want to get married because that's the idea that, you're in a successful relationship, or people want to show how happy they are. No one needs to see you happy. As long as you're happy, the world doesn't need to celebrate your happiness. You are all you need to celebrate your happiness. Just like when you're healing. The world doesn't need to see you healing. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to express yourself. But when you're healing, that's sacred. And I feel like happiness and healing, they're both sacred feelings, emotions. Well, healing is ongoing, but happiness is ongoing as well, as we choose our happiness, but it's still sacred. And, that kind of stuff, when you put it out there for other people to perceive of you and judge of you, they're also putting that energy onto you. And, they're creating, what you don't even know, they're creating levels of resentment. Because you got people that you show yourself being happy with this person, and then you got people saying, oh, I wish that was me, or, I'm so jealous. Why do they have that and I don't? So now you're creating this unwanted energy and this cycle of low vibrational patterns. So, as now I wish everybody happy.
We can talk on another in the next part because we already have 4 minutes. But great start. We're gonna take a little break, guys.
Oh, awesome.
Stay tuned for part 2, guys. Don't go away.
Awesome.
It's my fault. My bad.
It's all right. So it's recording now. We're back at it.
We're back at it, guys. Part 2.
Okay.
Sorry about the technical difficulties, but it was my fault. What am I saying?
It's all right. No, it wasn't your fault. It was just it just gave us a little more time to gather our thoughts.
Right. Which yeah, we're still talking about well, there's a thing about, you were saying about forgiveness, right? And what I heard one time was forgive and forget, or I'm talking about in my case, it was about what your father did or your mother did, forgive and forget it, but or it's in the past, And I always hear that thing in those terms or those phrases, and it triggers me, right? But yeah, I realized that forgiveness is not about them; it's about myself. And you were saying something about forgiveness before we started the show, and so yeah, what are your thoughts about forgiveness? What did you stand there? Where do you stand?
Where I stand on forgiveness is. And, I want to preface everything that I say. I can only speak for me, because what happens is people get in an instant right or wrong. They want, he's right or he's wrong. And it's like, I don't engage in the right or wrong. I only share my thoughts. And I'll say that to me, forgiveness is never about the other person. It's always about yourself. Or for instance, let's say forgiveness is never about the other person. It's always about me and how I perceive of it, and I look at the way I look at forgiveness, in a way, it's like, okay, this is here to teach me. This is here to help me grow. And if I, for instance, am holding on to a grudge, let's say my ex-girlfriend cheated on me, which she did. I had an ex-girlfriend that cheated on me, and I held on to this grudge. Well, in her next relationship, she got married. Here I am being upset with her holding on this grudge, and there she is being happy. So I had to forgive myself for allowing myself to hold on to the grudge, to the resentment. I had to release it. And I do the Ho'oponopono meditation practice, the 4 affirmations. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. But for me, when I forgive, it's to forgive myself for I did not know what I was doing, or I did not know what I was allowing into my space. I forgive for allowing what I should not have allowed in my space, or for allowing it in my space. And holding myself accountable. So when you forgive, you hold yourself accountable, and you release it. It no longer has power over you.
Right. Yeah, because yeah, it's not about forgiving either, because I don't think so. I don't think it's about forgive. It's not about forgive and forget. It is to just release the resentment and the anger and what is really bothering you personally. Not because you're being selfish, but
forget.
Yeah, that phrase gotta go.
I don't like that. It's to me, it's passive aggressive.
Right.
To be forgive and forget. No, just forgive and forget.
Right. Yeah. Whoever says that, stop it.
Stop it. Yeah. Well, what are you forgetting? You can't forget. You're an accumulation of experiences. So everything that you experience is happening for you, not to you. It's happening for you to grow. So there's no point in holding a grudge on someone and holding them, leaving them accountable for it when they're out living their life being happy. We don't know their story. We don't know their story. We can't control their story, but we can control our story.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Because you wish they were still thinking about it, or they were still bothered that you're no longer in their lives. And it was actually a point that I was thinking about my one of my exes, and I was sure I was gonna meet him again, right? I was sure I was gonna meet him that day, actually. And I went to Denny's and I went to get some food, and I sat down, and then I had to go to the bathroom, and there he was with his whole family, right? And I'm like, how funny that I knew he was going to be there. And then in my rumination, I was always thinking, what would I do? What would I say if I ever meet him again? Of course, he moved on, obviously, and so did I. But it was just funny to see him and to see that he still had a grudge on me, right?
Right.
We hurt each other. I said things and he said things. I did forgive him, I guess. I forgave him because I knew that where he was coming from, or his trauma as well, because we were both trauma bonded in our relationship. So to see him still resenting me, or not talking to me, or not even saying hello to me, not even acknowledging that I was there in front of him. I don't know. I don't know how to. I don't know. I didn't know how to feel about it at the time. So I just had my foot to go. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna sit down here to go.
Right.
And that was it. But it was always that thought in my mind: what would happen if I met them again? It was just interesting to see that reality.
Yeah. Well, that resentment that they have, is it what now? It's like you look into it now. It's like that resentment that he has. That's something that he got to work through.
Right.
Because his pain or whatever he's feeling, it's he's holding himself back from being happy. Just because it didn't work out doesn't mean you don't deserve happiness. And it doesn't mean that the other person doesn't deserve happiness. It just means that it didn't work out.
Right.
And a lot of times we create a lot of attachments as to why it didn't work out, and we place blame on other people as to why it didn't work out, and that they're responsible for what I'm going through. But really, they're not. At the end of the day, you're two people living your own journey, and that resentment that he's holding on to, he's going to have to allow that to move through him, and allow himself to see you happy. And that's like envision you being happy, and that's wishing you well, praying that you're living a prosperous life, praying that you meet someone that's going to love you in a way that they couldn't show up for you. That's forgiveness too. It's because you're seeing it within you. If you're holding on to it, you're just going to attract more of what you're holding on to until you keep you're going to keep attracting what you're holding on to, and it's going to keep happening and happening over and over again until you learn the lesson. Okay, I'm sorry for allowing myself to feel this resentment. I'm sorry for allowing myself I'm sorry for giving someone I'm sorry for giving someone power over my emotions. Right. Please forgive me, for I did not know better. I'm just going by what I was taught. Forgive me for that. I love you. No matter what we go through, no matter what we experience, however we feel right now, no matter what, I'm not judging you. I love you. And thank you for holding this space. You say that to yourself, and you envision this clear light moving through you as if it's cleansing you from what you're holding on to. And now you go from holding on to resentment to holding on to love. And you wish love. You pray that they're well. All my ex-girlfriends, I pray that they're happy. I pray that they find love in their life, and that they find a man or even a woman that's going to show up for them in a way that I didn't show up for them. It's not to say that I was a bad partner. It's just to say that I did not meet them at the level of love that they were expecting me to meet them at. And that's okay, because I learned from them as well as they learned from me, and they learned what love is by experiencing what love isn't with me in a relationship. Because I feel like love is flow. I feel like love is a flow. I view love in such a different way. But
I like what you said. They experience love. Repeat that again. They experience love by what you.
They experience love about how they experience how I didn't. I hope that someone shows up for them in a way that I didn't show up for them, and they experience love at the level of which they were expecting.
Right.
And they deserve it. I'm friends with all my exes. I love them because I love myself. And who am I to wish anything other than what I feel for myself?
Right.
I'm sorry. Who am I? I said it wrong. Who am I? Who am I to wish anything other than what I feel for myself? Because I love myself, and I want them to grow, prosper, to be happy. They deserve it.
Right. Because at one point, at least I did. I thought I loved them, or I thought they loved me, or vice versa, whatever. So yeah, there's still some ashes there, but
yeah,
it's good to let go as well. It's good to let go and see them do well, and see them. I hope they're doing well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's part of unconditional love. Unconditional love isn't conditional on our terms. It's unconditional no matter what. So, you love them for who they are, as they are, and you love them hoping that they do well. You pray that they do well, and that they experience happiness, even if they're not with you, because you can't feel like it's unconditional love when you're in a relationship and you're in the infatuation stage. And then when things go bad, things just go bad because there's a lack of misunderstanding and seeking the understanding. But once you're not together anymore, that love just doesn't die. I don't believe in that. Love doesn't just die. The relationship just no longer there's no longer that capacity for the relationship to be present. There's no capacity for the relationship to be present. There's no growth in the relationship. Two parties have become complacent. And instead of valuing love, they're valuing what they think they need. And when you value what you think you need someone to understand you. And if that person doesn't understand you, you're going to create issues conflicts that are going to separate. But the love never dies. Love is always present. So I feel like not you, I'm saying I feel like people should, love fluidly.
Right. Unconditionally. Yeah.
Unconditionally. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I know about conditional love, but unconditioned, yes.
And that's hard, to love somebody and to see them happy with someone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's part of love, though. It's, letting go is part of love.
Love. So it's so abstract.
Yeah, there's a beautiful poem that says, even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, you owe me. Look what happens with a love like that. It lights up the whole sky. Like that, to me, is the essence of love. Not the conditions, not the societal labels, but the true essence of love, and the fact that the relationship the sun has to the earth, and the connection between the sun and the earth and the plants that grow, it's all one.
Yeah.
So.
That's deep. That's deep.
Think about it. The sun, the relationship between the sun and the seed of the flower, and then the rain, and the flower blossoms, or any plant that blooms, but the flower blossoms into this beautiful experience, I should say. And then you got the bee, or the hummingbird, or the butterfly sharing a connection with the flower that's in full bloom. And like that's love. The connection, everything works together in a fluid motion.
Right. And yeah, there's nothing better than connecting with nature.
That's
more often. Yeah.
Nature shows us a lot. We just gotta listen.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know what else to talk about. Love. That's it. I think.
I can go on.
What you need. Kumbaya. Just kidding.
Kumbaya. I mean, I can go on and on about love, man, but in a way that's just in a way that's connection based, not societal based. Because
Right.
society creates all these limits and these labels and these words that you need. It's this love. I love you like a friend. I love you like a brother. I love you like a. It's like, what do you mean? You love me like a. You're creating a condition now. Love just is.
True.
But our society, we grow up, we think we need these conditions, these judgments, and we place judgments on.
It's kind of limiting. I think what you're going at is that it's limiting. Like,
Limiting.
I love you like a brother or a sister.
Yeah, or I love you like a
limiting.
friend. Now, you don't give that person a chance, and then what if that person has so much love to give you, yet you're seeking an identity of what you think you want based off of an accumulations of thoughts that you were conditioned to believe.
Mm-hmm.
And now you passed up on this person that you love like a friend.
Right.
Or a brother or a sister, which that doesn't even exist. Because those are just words. Those are filler words. Love is beyond words and emotion.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot. I got to think about this podcast today. Actually, I needed to hear this.
Yeah. I'm glad I can hold this space. I'm grateful to hold this space with you. It's really nice to connect and to just talk about this stuff. And since I won't be going live anymore, this is I think this is the perfect way to just do it.
Well, do you mind me asking why you're not going live anymore? Do you share that?
Huh?
Do you want to share?
I don't mind sharing. I just, I learned, and I'm going to hold myself accountable for this right now. I got to be responsible for this. I allowed myself to connect with somebody on TikTok, and they created an illusion of me, an idea of me. And the connection was great, and this is a great person. However, I noticed a red flag, and I immediately said no. And she's called me a narcissist. She's called me a manipulator. She said that I'm using her. How could you just pull the carpet from underneath me? How could you just decide you don't want me? And that goes back to the previous conversation. How is it just that easy? No, it's a red flag. And the reason why it's a red flag is because I've experienced this in my past, and I no longer allow this in my life. Right. And she tried to psychoanalyze me. You're just running from your trauma. Very manipulative. You're running from your trauma. You're hiding from something that, and it was just very dark. And I blocked her. And I block for my peace. I don't block out of hatred. And so I block out of peace. My peace of mind is a priority. And she continued to go on my lives. She created accounts to go on my live, and one day she messaged me from this account that she had created, and she said, "Hey, I need you to call me. My mom is using this account to connect with you." And we were talking about reality transurfing, and I was like, "Wait, well, that doesn't seem right." And so I called her, and she's like, "You see, this is what I just wish that you would give me this time." She wanted to go back and forth and talk, and long story short, it was her. And I kept giving chances because I felt bad. That's why I meant about feeling guilty. I felt bad for saying no at first and not giving her a chance to reconnect. And so every time I give her a chance, she'd be like, "This is twisted." And I'm like, "You know what? Let's stop. and she wouldn't give me my space. She kept harassing me
Right.
and coming in my lives. And so now I'm to a point to where I won't go live. I'm not going to go live anymore. And I don't want to, I changed my number, but I don't want to go live anymore. And I don't want to, no more DMs. I put in my bio, no DMs, and I'm close to closing the account because, there's an idea. She created an idea of me based off my post. And because I wasn't as understanding with her and the red flag as I am in my post, she assumed that I should be that way. When in all reality, again, I post to encourage myself. These are more self-reminders. Let me tell you, I came from a dark place. I wanted to commit suicide, and I called the suicide hotline just because I felt alone and I had no one to talk to. And so I gave this guy all my pain, my misery, my sadness, the hurt, and the guy responded with grace. And it led me to wanting to write for myself, to encourage myself. And so whenever I posted things on Facebook and Instagram, it's more or less, that was my way of coping with the loneliness that I encountered with that. But I also wanted to help other people. And I made a promise to myself and the universe, like, let me be of service to the universe and at least be there for one person. If I'm there for one person, then I'm fulfilled. So this is like a promise that I do for myself and for others, to post this stuff. And so for her to hold me accountable to that of which her idea of me was this understanding person that's always positive, that's not my responsibility to live up to. And one thing I also post, and I know it's there, is I also talk about red flags and boundaries. And I always say to honor your boundaries. You got to be loyal to, people expect partners to be loyal, but you got to be loyal to yourself. How can you expect a partner to be loyal to you if you're not loyal to your boundaries? If you're not loyal to, for instance, you set your alarm every day for 5 o'clock in the morning to work out, but you keep hitting snooze because you don't want to deal with it right now. You'll get it the next day, the next day, the next day. Well, the next day ends up, it's a repetitive cycle. If you're not loyal to the change you want to make and waking up by that alarm clock, how can you expect another human being to be loyal to you? Because you won't even know what loyalty is.
Right.
And so she expected me to be this thing that I'm not. And I'm loyal to my beliefs and I'm loyal to my boundaries.
Well, and I just gotta say, on my own experience with your channel, with your lives, I appreciated that you were in the lives and you were very personable. You addressed everybody with respect. You never showed. I never seen you being disrespectful to anybody. So for her to take it like that and to twist your words into psychoanalyzing you without even knowing you, meeting you in person. I know that we haven't met in person, but I'm just saying, like, from what I gathered, from because social media is social media. You can't really know anybody until you meet them in person, right? But so all that's to say that, and I know that you didn't want to share this in the podcast, but I'm glad that you have spoken about it because it was in your mind, and I can tell. I'm like, I know there's something else, but I didn't want to touch it if you don't want to. But I believe that your mission, you still have a mission to accomplish. However, that mission is going to be accomplished, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Instagram, whether it's a phone call, whether it's something, because everybody needs somebody. And like you talk to that stranger, they help you in that dark time. I'm sure somebody heard you in your life in their dark time and got something out of it. So don't be discouraged. That's all I gotta say. Don't be discouraged by that.
So this is what it got to today. Last night she left me a voicemail saying that I need to stop telling people on my lives to go after her and harass her. It's in my voicemail.
You never done that.
And never got, and I remember you were in my live when I talked about it at one point about how, I got this person harassing me, and I'm like, she's in my lives and she's trying to create something, because I've never talked about that. And actually, I've always said I'm responsible for it. I've always put the blame on me about it. And then I've also went on to say that she's a great person, just not for me. And I don't think she realizes this. The lives are saved. And I should have said that in that conversation that I had before I changed my number, but the lives are saved. And so that's what got me to say, you know what? I don't want to be alive anymore right now, because she is watching my lives, but she also thinks that I'm sending people to harass her. And that's not something that I would do, because for the simple fact is that I don't hate her. I just don't want nothing to do with her. And I didn't block her out of hatred. I blocked her out of peace of mind.
Right.
So
it's true to be a lot of character like that. Anyways.
Yeah, but you know what though? It's okay, because I have the receipts. I have the inboxes. I have the deleted messages, and I also, the live save itself, so she can if she wants to see my lives and review it. I've never told anyone to harass her, and I never will tell anybody to harass anybody. That's not who I am. The only thing that I do, and it's with my trolls, is I'll call them out. But other than that, it's all love for people. I don't got time to hate, because whenever if there's a feeling of hate, then I got to look within to see what's going on with me.
Right.
So, and that's that. You know what I mean?
That's that, guys. Don't harass Marcell.
Don't harass me. Leave me. Just leave me alone. Leave me be.
Leave him alone.
And that's where my breaking point was, because I'll tell you, her and I had a heated exchange over the phone, and I was screaming at the top of my lungs, "Leave me alone, leave me alone!" And she wouldn't stop. And she would say, "Go ahead, hang up on me," because she knew that if I hung up on her, she'd call me a manipulator. And so I was like, you know what? Finally, I hung up, and I said to myself, no, I cannot allow this person to have that power over me. She's got way too much power over me.
Sounds like a vampire to me.
Yeah, an energetic vampire. Yep. And so it's like I had to. She's like, today she was talking about how we're soul connected and that. And I want to talk about this. People, it's important to be mindful and aware of people when they talk about spirituality, because there are people that use spirituality against you and to manipulate you and to make you acquiesce to who they are. And there are people on this app that abuse that. There are people that speak to you to play to your emotions and to play to your spirituality as a way to get you in. And that's a very toxic thing that I've been seeing a lot of. And, people who do the work spiritually, it's inward, it's sacred. And that's something that should be done inwardly. So it's important to be mindful of that. And how you present yourself, it's okay. If you feel like you want the world to see your spirituality, that's okay. But be wary of others around you that don't have the best intentions for you. Because it's out there, and it's out there more than you think.
Right. Yeah. This is a topic that is very interesting. And energy vampires that love to see you screaming and yelling, and they do it on purpose. And I know they do it on purpose because I experienced that in my family or with my narcissistic people that I encounter. They want you to lose it, so they can be like, "See, that's what I was talking about," and this is what they do it. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
So get this, in the blocked message, she did say, "I like when you're angry. Matter of fact, I love seeing you angry." Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, it's saved."
Show you who she is then.
Exactly.
Right.
So you're right. They like that. They feed off of that, and they know it's the people that are working on themselves.
Yeah.
that they know they can play to your emotions. Just like how you hear these men on this app talking about what a woman needs, and they're playing to he's playing to her emotions, and they got thousands of women staring at the screen looking sad if you click on the sound, and then all of a sudden they wonder why they're getting manipulated, because they've revealed themselves to people preying on them. They're innocently staring at the screen, and the guy's saying, "Oh, she knows her worth," or you know where they're at you know where the good ones are at. They're at home on a Friday night doing absolutely nothing, drinking wine because she knows her worth. And you got these guys that are looking for the women that can do that they can manipulate. And so it's a constant play to the spirituality and the healing aspect of who you are. And it's important to be vigilant of that. This is social media. It's an app, and it's so easy to be confined to this box and to it become our reality.
Well, will become a reality when the metaverse, I don't know if you ever heard of that is coming. It's already here.
It is.
We'll be trapped in that universe of his.
Trapped in that universe, and it's going to be more expectations. You know, how much time do we have on here? I want to touch on something.
We got 1 minute left, so if you want to continue, once again, let's do a part 3. It's another. Keep that thought. Don't forget. Okay, write it down.
Oh, I got it. That's already here because I've been wanting to touch on this for a while.
All right, now we're warming up. I think that's what happens. Now we're warming up. All right. Usually that happens at the end. It's like, oh, I got something to say. Go get a minute.
Well, you know, I feel like it needs to be heard. You know.
Yeah. No, keep that thought. Hold on a second.
What I want to tell people is to not allow the opinions and judgments of others to have power over what they believe in. And I feel it's important to believe in what you believe in and to honor what you believe in. And as long as you honor what you believe in and you're loyal to that, that's all that matters. Because it's so easy to be confined to what others think or what they feel we should believe in. But you are who you are as an individual, and you have your own story. You live your own life, and you have your own beliefs. You're entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to your beliefs, and there is no right or wrong. When it comes to your beliefs, there is no right or wrong. And when it comes to your perception, there is no right or wrong. Or when you're sharing your perspective, there is no right or wrong. All of this is uncertain in this world. All of this. You know, we all seek certainty in faith, you know, and that's amazing. And I feel like whenever things seem uncertain, whenever you're faced with uncertainty, make sure your faith remains certain. But all this in life is uncertain. And so as long as you believe in what you believe in, that faith is what will carry you through life. And no one outside of you has power over you to change what you believe in. And no one outside of you should judge you, nor should they tell you it's right or wrong. Because to me, there is no such thing as right or wrong. It's just a better understanding. And if we had a better understanding for each other, then the very things that we believe in shouldn't matter. Because you have your own beliefs. I have my own beliefs. I'd rather, instead of judge you, say, no, that's wrong because what I believe is right, I'd rather say, no, let me learn to understand you. And let me understand why you believe in what you believe in. Because then, now you create a healthy connection.
Yeah. And this goes, yeah. I understand what you mean. Like, on assume if I say something, or if I say something or do something, it shouldn't represent who you are.
Right.
Maybe at the time you thought you were right about something, and then it ends up you were not, or maybe you were at the time, you know.
Yeah, I want to share a
Yeah,
story.
there's always a growth.
It does. It does. I want to share a story. When I was a kid, I was like 15 years old, and I didn't understand male couples, right? And so I had a lot of already. I had a lot of toxic thoughts regarding that. Listening to Eminem, growing up listening to the music that we were listening to, and I had my next door neighbor was a male couple, and they lived with their mother. And because I didn't understand that, right, I instantly judged. And I was very mean, very mean. I wasn't the nicest neighbor. And you know those organic potatoes that grow in the yard? I would pick them up with a friend and I'd throw them at the house because I didn't understand them. And because I didn't understand them, the next thing I was going to do was judge them. And that was a reflection of me not understanding myself, and a reflection of the inner hate, because it was during that time I was 15, 16, you know, between the age of 11 to the age of 18. It was a low point. I did not like who I was. But anyways, so I was throwing these potatoes at their house. One day, got a knock on the door, and it was the neighbor. And the neighbor had 2 bags full of potatoes, and they asked to speak to my mom. And they said, you know, our mother had a heart attack because she was scared, and she kept hearing these thumps. Luckily, you know, she made it through, but she kept hearing these thumps, and they were trying to figure it out. And they saw that it was all these potatoes. And, you know, he explained to my mom, and I barely remember, but he explained to her, you know, I understand that people have their own beliefs, but this is hurtful, and it hurts our feelings as neighbors, you know. And my mom was in shock because she didn't know that I had this in me, this feeling. And so they left. Before they left, I should say, she made me apologize to him, and then they left. But she spanked me. She got me. You know, and the guy that was in the house that threw the potatoes with me, he was outside with the other friends laughing at me while I was getting chased around with my mom. She had the belt. You know, this isn't who I didn't raise you to be this way. Who is this? You know, and so she asked me to go over to their house. And what she wanted me to do was, with anything, for as long as they were there, to help them out with anything they needed. And you're going to learn who they are. And I'll never forget, the guy said to me, look, I understand that this is different. You're not used to seeing this, but this is who I am. And as a neighbor, I need to feel safe in this space. And it's important to not, what did he say? He said, he was along the lines, it's important to not judge, and you need to understand that who I am doesn't affect me as a person. It doesn't, who I am, it doesn't, what did he say? I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was so touching to me because he helped me understand that it's not about, you know, the label, the condition. It's not about what you believe in. It's about understanding what you believe in. That's who he is. Who am I to judge him for his beliefs? Who am I? You know, and now I'm in trouble. I got this belt mark on my back, and I got these friends, these so-called friends, laughing at me. They're not getting in trouble. I'm the only one getting in trouble. And I'm starting to see, like, okay, you're right. That's not right of me to do. Yeah. And it took a lot of understanding in that time, and come to find out, they were really nice people. And it was like, you need to understand someone and who they're and how they are and how their heart is, instead of judging them and not accepting them for who they are. Because you could go about judging them all you want, but what if you pass out one day and you need CPR and they help you? And now that person you judged your whole life saved you. It doesn't become about what their dating preference is. It becomes about life and death. You know? So it's that understanding. You seek understanding in people. And you realize in that time, I was like, you're more than just, what your sexuality is. You're a human being. You have a great heart. You guys watch funny shows. You guys, one of the guys likes sports. The other guy like funny movies. I love sports. So it's like, I cut my nose to spite my face because I'm over here judging them instead of learning to understand them. Right. And by learning to understand someone, you gain an ally, you gain a friend, you gain somebody that's going to have your back in a time where you may feel alone. So that's what I wanted to share. And it was that day that really opened my eyes to that in all aspects.
Right. It's about tolerance too. Tolerance, compassion. I even have a neighbor who's he has racist tendencies. But I understand to have compassion for he's 90s, I think. Not to be compassionate about him because, he may not change. He may not change his point of view, or he may not see me as a gay man. He may not see my roommate as a black man who's proud to be a black man. And he even told him, he was like, yeah, I'm not talking about you, though. I'm talking about the other black people. And he's like, well, you realize you're talking to me, right? I'm black. Yeah. So it's just understanding, educating people too. Like he was educating you. We're the same. I educate my dad every time. He even told me, he's like, yeah, I said hurtful things to you for your sexuality, and he didn't understand it. And it's okay to not understand it. And at least he said it. He's like, I'm sorry I said those things. I'm sorry I said I was not part of you. How did he say it? He basically disowned me. He's like, if you're gonna continue being who you are and who you're with, don't ever bother talking to me again. That's what he said. But yeah, it's all into the forgiveness umbrella. To understand who it was at the time and where I was at the time, and the misunderstanding, because it was a misunderstanding. He didn't explain himself. It was all through text, and sometimes through the text you can't really, what I'm saying, like it's hard to read a text in the right time. And I'm glad I did it. I'm glad we have a better understanding of each other. He doesn't call people faggots anymore. He's very careful now. So there is hope.
There is. You gotta want to understand. You gotta within yourself. You gotta want to. I know that I broke my mom's heart by acting that way, because my mom accepts everybody. My mom loves everybody. So to see her child like that, it's like, I didn't raise this. This isn't who I raised as a single mom.
Yeah.
And it's days I think about it, I'm like, wow, I was really mean to them. And that's an ongoing theme with me, and lessons I learned is that they respond with grace. Right. They allowed me to help them. They could have said, you know what? Forget that. You're a lost cause.
Yep. So you're lucky that they didn't do that. They didn't call the police, or they didn't get you in trouble, or it could have ended up many ways. But yeah, so it's a good lesson.
And I wanted to touch on this too, because I mentioned it in a live, and I was like, man, that's really good. Where did this all come about? and this might be a deep subject, and so, but where did it all come about as human beings that you are who you are, right? Why should someone have to come out? If that's who they are, why can't they just be accepted?
Mm-hmm.
Where is this? Where did they get this thought from? And if this is from the Bible, then why? I don't want to live in a world where a God condemns people and is judging of others, you know, and in what thought, you know, the language of relationship didn't even last. That didn't even exist in the biblical time. So it's like, where did that even come from? And I feel like these societal limits have been manipulative from a long time since these words became existent. And, you know, you try to say what's right and what's wrong, you know, and a person's beliefs should not have a right or wrong aspect to it, just as a person's sexuality shouldn't have a right or wrong aspect to it. Like, who is someone else to tell you who you are, and who is someone else to accept you for who you are, you know? Right. And I thought about that. I'm like, when did this all take place to feel like you got to come out to be accepted? You know, you got to feel like you come out and you go through these levels of self-reflection and sometimes self-hatred because you don't want to feel judged, and you don't want to feel left out, and you don't want to feel like you're not worthy or wanted. And you go through these levels before you get to that point of saying, you know what, I'm finally going to come out. But why can't it be accepted as who you are when you're a child, when you recognize it, when you first recognize it, or when you're a teenager or a young adult? You should be able to it should be recognized as that's who that person is.
Right. And when I came out, it was basically I was seeking approval, or seeking recognition, or seeking, you know what I'm saying, like. And I feel like I have to come out a few times. Not only, you don't come out one time. You end up coming over and over and over, not only as a gay man, but as a poet, or as a writer, or as an artist, or as a whatever you decide to be. You know, you can be straight and just say, you know, now I'm venturing into another aspect of my life. And do you ever have to come out? Who told you? Who are they to decide
right
or who you are going to become? You know.
Yeah, you know, it blows my mind. You know, and I guess I got into that thought because you get the trolls on the live and they say, "What are your pronouns?" Or they'll say, "What are you?" Or you know what I mean? Or what's your sexuality?
Yeah.
Or they'll say, "That's a lovely queen," to me. And you know what? And I respond to them with, how does that add any value to your life? What if I am? What if I'm not? How does it add any value to your life? What can you do with it now? Okay, let's say I am. What can you do with it? You can't go buy a bag of apples with it. You can't go buy a bag of sweet potatoes with it. You just have this stranger telling you that they are. And that you decided to get into their life and troll them, you know?
Right.
And it's like, how does it add value to your life? Why do other people feel like they need to project their thoughts and what they view as right or wrong into other people's lives? That doesn't make sense for me. If who you are is who you are, and you're happy with who you are, and you're loyal to who you are, what does that matter to anyone else? You're living the best life that you can. At the end of the day, you got to be happy for you. And however you're happy, so be it. You deserve that. But I'll never understand why people want to know. And I always answer to people, I'm a human being. I'm a soul. I'm a human. I don't live by, I call those pendulums. Societal beliefs and thought processes, I call them pendulums because they drain your energy and it takes away from your life purpose.
Yeah. And we're stuck on labels too. Again, we're talking about labels. So
yeah.
And within the gay community, there's so many labels. You have no idea. There's so many the twinks and the bears and the otters and the. I can name a few more things. I only got stuck on the three because I was stuck in a gay cruise one time, and I realized how many groups are within the gay community, which shows that diversity is what it shows. That why do I have to pick? You know, and it came to a point where I had to go back to the closet. Literally, I went to the closet in my room. I'm like, I don't want to come out
because
I felt so trapped in the label game.
Yeah.
You know, are you top? Are you bottom? Are you this? Are you that? Or what are you into? And there's so many inappropriate things to talk about when I'm just talking to somebody face to face. I don't want, you know, it's none of your business.
Yeah, none of their business.
So in the gay community is it's very toxic in that way.
But why does it even have to be someone's business? You know, like where do people even think that they have the right to know your business, right? It's like,
I don't go to a straight person and say, are you top or bottom? I would never think about that. It's like, wow, who am I to ask you? What's your best position in when you're having sex? That is totally inappropriate for me to ask.
Totally. I think it's inappropriate to ask, you know, what someone's sexuality is. As long as they love who they are, that's all that matters. So So let's say, for instance, somebody asked me what my sexuality is. You're asking me based off of your level of judgment. Now you're going to judge me based off of what I give you. And you're not going to like the response I'm going to give you, because the response I'm going to give you is, does it add any value to your life? Does knowing what I am add any value to your life? Can you do anything with it? How does it help you grow as a person? What can it do for you in the long run? Right. It's silly. It's a silly thought. Let's say I tell you that I'm straight. Now you got this thought, oh, this person said he's a straight person. Okay. And does it matter? Who you are is who you are. It's, you know, you can't, you know, it's silly.
There are some gays out there that think that it can turn anybody into a gay person.
You know, and that's their prerogative, though. I don't have nothing against that. If that's what they think, then that's, as long as they're loyal to what they believe in and they honor what they believe in. Right. So be it, you know, because your life, you know, we're individuals. We live our lives. We're not generalized people. We're human beings. You know, we're spiritual beings living the human experience, not spiritual beings living the generalized experience. Right. You know, I don't know. And that goes the same for all areas. When people say, what's your net worth? What does that matter to you? You know, or what's your race? I love when people ask me what my race is. What does it matter to you what my race is? I'm a human being. I breathe. I eat. I drink water. I drink, and I do everything you do. You know, and at the end of the day, I see it like this too. You know, let's say I'm going for a hike and I come across a lion. That lion could give, can I cuss on here real quick?
Sure.
That lion could give two fucks with what I believe in, what my net worth is, you know, how I identify myself, what I've done in my past. The only thing that lion wants is to tear me up because it's hungry. And it's not going to care.
Right. And we don't even wonder about their sexuality either.
We don't, you know, we don't. It's like it's like the human being. It's like we're just constantly, I think, in this race to understand what we are. We're trying to figure things out, but there's this judgment and there's this need to generalize everything, and that's the wrong way. I believe it's the backwards way, because when it's all said and done, it's over. You know, a comet comes on this planet, it's not going to choose the person that's right or wrong. It's not going to say, oh, this person went by the Bible, so they're living right, but this person didn't. So let me wipe out the people that are doing wrong, and let me keep the people that are right. No, that thing is going to wipe out the whole planet. Yeah. And it's not going to think twice. And then all those beliefs that we thought up to now will become non-existent. And then you're going to have a new civilization having a hypothesis of what our civilization was.
Yeah. Yeah, religion. That's another topic there, but the cultish religion. Like now I see them as cults too, and either they shaped our beliefs or
they do. It is
undo it.
It's all it's a different world we live in now, man, and it's religion's a different topic. It's a totally different topic, but I truly feel these words, they've only been around for so long. They've been translated over and over again. We don't even trust ourselves to make a decision, yet we'll trust words that have been translated over and over again to fit a narrative. Remember in kindergarten when we play the game where we start by saying, the sky is blue, the grass is green, and this is this. And then it gets back to you and you're talking about the sky is brown, I'm walking the dog, and I'm going home after this time. And but it just goes to show at that time, your words get translated over so many different times. It's not even what we think. I love all aspects of religion, but there's one thing in the Bible that I'll go for and that I love, and I'll never forget it. And it's be still and know that I am. And when you're still and you just be still and you'll understand everything. You can interpret it any way you like. And that's another thing. I don't believe in right or wrong because you can interpret it however you want to interpret it, but be still and know that I am. And that's your understanding.
Right.
I am doesn't have judgments. I am doesn't have labels. Yeah. So
that's beautiful.
We share the same sun. We share the same sky. It doesn't judge any of us. It just does what it does. You look outside, the same sky you look at is the same sky I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
They rain on everybody. Sinners and not sinners. Well, we're all sinners.
Yeah, and even then, what's a sinner? What is a sinner? Like that word again. When was it created? And what really is a sin? If you think about it, if that word never existed, what is it?
That's guilt.
And then you peel back the layers of it. Now you go within to see. There's so many layers to all this stuff, man. It's
Yeah, we can go on for hours.
But I'm getting hungry, and I'm sure I don't want to take up much more of your time either.
No, for sure. Thank you once again, Marcell, to
appreciate it.
Stop by before you go off the metaverse or the TikTok or whatever verse.
Yeah, TikTok. You can find me on TikTok for right now. It's learning from experience.
Okay. Yeah, I'll post your link below. Maybe not for that one person that that shall not be named, but yeah, if you want to follow Marcell, follow Marcell.
Yeah, follow me. Yeah, and for that one person that can't be named, I just pray she finds happiness. That's all. I pray that someone loves her the way she deserves to be loved.
Yeah, let us send her love, and off she goes.
Off she goes. All gone with the wind.
Gone with the Wind. Don't talk about. Oh, no, sorry. I was mixing Gone with the Wind with Wizard of Oz. But, anyways. And listen, Marcell, thank you. And once again, guys, stay tuned for next week. I'm going to talk about Machiavellianism. Yeah, Machiavellianism with Joshua Wills. It's going to come next week. But in the meantime, guys, you can see this coming. And stay tuned for next week.
Awesome. Take care, guys.
All right.
We are go for liftoff in T-minus 30.
Hit the record button.